Hello and welcome to Channel 2S, everybody. I'm your host, Second Soundwave, and it's time for one of the coolest episodes of Gunpla News I've ever done. I'm so excited, guys, because we have something really cool to talk about today. So recently, Bluefin's been experimenting with bringing some premium Bandai kits over to the West. They started by bringing over some select kits as regular retail releases, stuff like the XN Riser, the Avalanche Exia, the Astray Turn Red. Then they started making other kits available only on the Bluefin web shop, such as the Tall Geese 3, the Perfect Strike. But now the floodgates have opened, and literally dozens of premium Bandai kits, actual upcoming kits, the same kits they're getting in Japan, are going to be available on the USP Bandai Shop. I'm going to go through all of them, show you all the cool stuff you can expect, so stick around for that. But before we get into the main content of this video, I gotta thank the sponsor that makes this channel's content possible. Newtype HQ. Now, Newtype HQ is a longtime sponsor of the channel, so they probably need no introduction, but I'm going to give you the quick rundown anyways. They're a US-based Gunpla store. They sell models, kits, tools, supplies, basically all the stuff you need to do the hobby. And if you want to get yourself some cool Gunpla, or maybe some tools or paints or whatever from Newtype HQ, you can use code Channel2S to get 10% off your order. Link in the description below. Also, I kind of tend to keep forgetting to plug this, like, a lot, but Crow and I have a podcast over on his channel. I'll also have a link to that in the description. Alright, so with all the plugs out of the way, let's get into the best part of this video. The premium Bandai kits. Now, normally the premium Bandai kits are not the highlight of Gunpla News, but today is a very special, beautiful exception because the USP Bandai Shop, which has existed for a couple years now, mostly selling things like keychains and figurines, is finally expanding into Gunpla. And boy, are they expanding into Gunpla. They are basically releasing every single kit that is currently up for pre-order in Japan, including re-releases of older P-Bandai kits. So I'm going to go through all of them right now so you can see what you can get. And by the way, even though this is the USP Bandai Shop, I believe if you are in Canada, you can also get kits through this site as well. This is the official USP Bandai Shop, not Bluefin, just to clarify. I will leave a link in the description so you can get to the actual website. However, do note that none of these kits I'm talking about will actually be available until April 2nd, 2020. And Bandai, if this is a late April Fool's Day joke, I am going to murder someone. You know what? Scratch that. I'm going to murder everyone. So first up, we have some of the obvious ones. Real grade Tall Geese TV colors. This isn't really a surprise. I'm sure we were all fully expecting this to show up on Bluefin's web shop. You know how the US loves Wing, you know how Bluefin loves Wing. I think this is a pretty obvious choice. Same goes for the Death Scythe Rousette. We all saw this coming. Here's where it gets cool, though. The next kit we're going to be getting on April 2nd, guys, is the high-grade Varg wheel. That's right. An obscure-ass Moon Gundam kit is coming to the USP Bandai Shop. And that's not all. We're getting the Gundam Unit 4. And as you can see by the prices next to their names, these are pretty much the same prices these kits would cost in the US. This is the cheapest that P-Bandai kits have ever been in America. So we're getting the Gundam Unit 4. We are getting the real grade Destiny Gundam titanium finish, which honestly I think is kind of underwhelming at this point. I don't even know why they bothered releasing this kit. We've got a great new high grade mold. I don't know why they wanted to bother with a titanium finish version of the real grade. Back to the awesome stuff, though, we have the Master Grade / Zaku Phantom. This is a kit that I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to because this is practically the debut model for this mobile suit. We got a crappy no grade for this thing back in the day, but that's just not the same as an awesome Master Grade like this one. We also got the Legend BB Senshi Daishogun. Now, this is a SD kit, so it's probably not that impressive to a lot of people. However, I believe this is also a brand new mold model, so for the few SD Gundam fans that are interested in this is great news because this is a kit that they probably would not have been able to get very easily otherwise. We're also getting the Re 100 Vigna Zira, an awesome looking kit. This is one of those F91 variant suits. There's a few of these. I believe there's a whole line of these back in the 1990s. And the Vigna Zira was kind of the signature variant of the Vigna Gina, so it's really cool to see this get an actual US release. Even cooler than that, though, is honestly one of my favorite kits in this list, and that is the Master Grade Regizy Custom. Now this is just a super cool looking model. I love this design. I've built the old Master Grade Regizy, and honestly it wasn't that bad. But apparently from what I've seen, the Regizy Custom is even better because new tooling was added to give it more articulation, more detail, and more modern proportions. And I mean, he's got a beam AK. How could you not love that? Tennessee Jung's Gym Sniper Custom is probably a lot more underwhelming than most of what we've seen on this list, but I do think the colors on this are just a little bit cooler than the normal version of the Sniper Custom, so I could definitely see there being a market for this. Down here we have the Master Grade Jinx 3, which is a kit that I've actually built myself, and I wasn't super impressed with this, but seeing as it was pretty much the signature grunt suit of the second season of 00, I'm very happy to see it get a more widespread release. Real Grade Tallgeese 2 is another kit that probably, again, this is a pretty obvious choice. It's a wing kit. I don't think anyone's surprised to see it on this list. Then we have the Master Grade Victory 2 Assault Buster. This is a kit that Bandai put a lot of resources into. It looks awesome. It's got that cool flat gold plating finish on the yellow part. This kit looks awesome. Yeah, the mold's got some structural issues, but man, does it look good. And finally, this is the one that's probably going to be the biggest ease on people's wallets because this is the Perfect Grade Unicorn Final Battle version. This was a kit that was very, very expensive to get a hold of. I'm talking like $380, $400, depending on where you get it. This is not a cheap kit. For the first time ever, though, fans in the US and Canada and any other place that the USP Bandai store ships to, which I'm not entirely clear on yet, but hopefully someone who's more knowledgeable on that might be able to clarify it in the description, or not the description, but the comments, you know what I mean. But the point I'm trying to get to is that the PG Unicorn Green Psychoframe version is only $275, which sounds like a lot, yes, but that's still literally like $130 less than this usually goes for. So for the Unicorn fans out there that want a green Psychoframe version of their Unicorn to go with something like the Full Armor add-on, this is going to be a huge relief on their wallets. Speaking of the Full Armor add-on, that's getting a release too, and it's under $100, only 77 bucks. And honestly, at that price, if it wasn't such an absolute space hog, it'd be really, really tempting. And we're effectively completing the PG Unicorn set with the Armed Armor VN and BS. I gotta calm myself down, I'm getting out of breath here because I'm so excited. Now technically this is not everything because we aren't getting a re-release of the Green Psychoframe Banshee, and we're not getting a re-release of the Phoenix because Bandai was barely able to sell that thing to begin with. And also, come to think of it, the Real Grade Phoenix is missing from this list as well, which is a little bit unfortunate. I would like to have seen that at least. But for the most part, if you're a Unicorn fan, you will be able to now get pretty much whatever version of the PG Unicorn you like. And finally, down here at the bottom, we have a couple of wing effect part sets that used to be way more expensive than they were worth, but are actually kind of reasonably priced now. We got the Real Grade Destiny Gundam Wings of Light, which I feel are kind of underwhelming now that we have a high grade kit that comes with all of this stuff right in the box from the get-go. And then we're also getting the Master Grade Wings of Light for the Victory 2. These already look pretty cool on their own, and if you combine them with the Assault Buster, they gotta look awesome. So there you go, guys. That is the first wave of P-Bandai kits we're going to be seeing on the official US P-Bandai website. Now, unfortunately, there are a few kits missing that I would have liked to have seen in this list. It would have been nice to see the RG Phoenix just to knock down the price of that kit a little bit since it is very expensive. And I personally would have really liked to have seen the Mudrock show up in Wave 1. However, once those kits get re-releases, it's entirely possible that we'll see them on the USP Bandai store, depending on how this first wave goes. So if you're interested in any of these kits and you're in the US or Canada, mark your calendars, April 2nd, pre-order the absolute crap out of them so Bandai knows there's a market for these over here. And quite frankly, I could end the episode of Gunpla News right here. This is awesome enough on its own. I'm sure you guys are all hyped, but I've got even more to talk about. Let's talk Advance of Zeta. Now, these Advance of Zeta kits have not been yet shown on the USP Bandai Shop, but once they go up for pre-order in Japan, or once they've been around for a little while, maybe if they get a second production run, I guess we could maybe see them in the States as well. So first off, we have the confusingly named Hizanthale 2. Now, quite frankly, there's no point in keeping track of names for Advance of Zeta because the names seem to not matter at all because this is a Hazel, but it's called Hizanthale 2, which is a completely different mobile suit. I've had people try to explain the naming schemes of Advance of Zeta to me many times before, and it just makes my head hurt. They keep reusing names for everything. It's stupid, it's convoluted, it's incredibly confusing. So here's Mr. Hizanthale 2. Here he is from behind. As you can see, he's mostly Hazel with some new tooling for the Hazel parts and also for the obvious new pieces. Here you can see on this illustration right here, the pink areas are new tooling while the standard colored areas are existing parts. He's got a new set of subarms on his waist. Here we can see how the fold-out shield rifle thing works for this suit. I guess it shouldn't really be much of a surprise since I'm pretty sure this is the exact same weapon we got back with the what was it called? The Wound Wart? I don't know, guys. Advance of Zeta just makes my head hurt. But that's not the only Advance of Zeta kit we got announced. We also got the Kihar 2, which, confusingly enough, is basically just a Wound Wart, except it's the version of the Wound Wart that was called the Hazel 2, even though it looks nothing like the Hazel 2. And this is a pretty extreme variant on the Wound Wart. You can barely tell that it's a Wound Wart if it wasn't for the fact that the legs were exposed, and you can see just a little bit of the head peeking through from underneath this white section. From the back, I guess it's a little more obvious. You can see the Wound Wart butt flap, you can see the back of the legs. However, this still is a pretty unique kit because the transformation looks a lot different from the Wound Warts. It actually looks an awful lot like the Ashamar or the Angsha. I believe is intentional. I'm sure this is probably supposed to be some kind of prototype to those suits or variant based off of them. All the Advance of Zeta stuff, as far as I understand, ties into Zeta Gundam. So I'm sure there's some kind of technological connection in there somewhere. Now, if you want to get this kit, it's actually going to be released in 2 different ways. You will be able to buy one of these on their own, or you can buy a massive 6-pack of them, which includes 6 identical models. As far as I know, the 6-pack includes no additional accessories, so it's not quite like the Maganac 36-pack where you get those extra accessories and weapons and custom parts and stuff. But if for some reason you want to army build this incredibly obscure mobile suit, Bandai did give you accommodations for that. And finally, we're going to close out the day today, this excellent, awesome day of Gunpla news, with a couple pieces of March box art. So first, we have the IBO kit that no one saw coming, the Gundam Marchiosis, and the box art for this is a huge step up from the previous IBO kits. Now, Iron-Blooded Orphans box art kind of followed the same conventions as stuff like Build Fighters and Build Divers, where they had very simple cel-shaded artwork for the boxes. However, because Marchiosis is kind of a special release, he's not following the standard release convention for the series, but the point I'm trying to get to here is the box art is several steps above the rest of the IBO kits. The shading is awesome, the detail here is incredible, I love it. Also interesting to note that this box, unlike all the other IBO kits, uses the English Iron-Blooded Orphans logo. On the side here, I'm also noticing that while it does have a similar box design to the Season 2 kits, it looks like we've got Barbatos Rex's face here instead of the Barbatos Lupus. The little copyright icon up here in the corner is also showing the English IBO logo instead of the Japanese one, perhaps their way of acknowledging how successful the series was in the West. And overall, this is a kit that I think a lot of people are going to be excited for. Now, less exciting, but admittedly still pretty cool looking, is the second and final piece of box art we're going to be looking at today, the Gundam G-Else. This is a G-Reco variant. It's from Build Divers. Technically, it's from that Build Divers Break manga that the Shining Break Gundam was from. But this is kind of just a filler kit for Re-Rise. As for the box art itself, I think it looks neat. I love all those glowing elements. I think the 4-eyed look is pretty cool. I actually just now noticed that he has... Admittedly, it's hard to see here because this image is blurry as crap, but there's like a V-fin mustache going on here, kind of like the Turn A Gundam has. And you know what? I think I might even throw a little piece of bonus news at you guys. So this is the final kit we'll be looking at tonight, and this is the Premium Bandai Master Grade Jigen Type D Initial Deployment Type. And I don't think I need to explain what the reference is here. This is a Jigen in GM colors. And there's no new tooling here, it's the same design as the Jigen Type D, just in some classic GM colors. Seeing as the Jigen's basically just a souped up GM, I'm kind of surprised we didn't get this kit earlier. But with this being just a straight palette swap of the standard Jigen D type, I can definitely see why this was P-Bandai. So thank you for watching this episode of Gunpla News, guys. I'm going to have a link to the US P-Bandai Shop in the description of the video, along with the podcast and new type. If you're new to Channel 2S and you want more Gunpla news and other Gundam content, be sure to subscribe for all the newest updates. And if you enjoyed this video in particular, be sure to leave a like. I'm Second Soundwave, you're watching Channel 2S, and I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.